Thank you. No, please. Thank you. And welcome to the 7th Evan Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Myers. You can follow me on Twitter at 7th Evan. You can listen on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Rumble. We got a great show planned for you. Did a lot of research to prepare for this. Because I want to tell you guys, I'm the most prepared man in show business. And this is show business. Absolutely. This is no different than Hollywood or Broadway. This is all the content you need twice a week. Listen, I've been doing a lot of research here about the news and about what audiences want. So I've picked a few stories here that I think you guys are going to really enjoy. You're going to really enjoy this. And if you don't, fuck off. But first, I went to GNC today. I don't know if you guys know where this is. It's like a vitamin workout supplement place. It's only the second time I've ever been in one. The first time I was in a GNC, I went in. I said, "Do you guys sell fat burner?" You know, and I wanted to burn fat. And the guy was like, "Do you work out?" And I'm like, "Not really, no." And he said, "Well, this is the one you want." And it was like $60, and I was poor and broke. So I said, "Thanks, but no thanks." But now I work out with some regularity. And I went in there and I said, "I need some creatine." And for those of you who don't know, creatine is it's a thing that makes your muscles bigger, but it's not a steroid. The old tale around it was that it puts water in your muscles. I don't know how true that is, but it sounds right. And I want to look bigger than I am, you know. I'm a guy with a lot of size issues, you know. I'm overweight. I have a small dick. These are the things that I have to deal with. So now that I'm lifting weights more frequently, I want my arms to look more muscular, you know. So that way you might ignore my gut. Here's the thing. Creatine is a gift from God, which is to say it is a drug that makes you better at being what you should be. And that's what I'm here for. So I went in there and I said, "Hey, fella, do you have any creatine?" And he said, "Well, we only have this." It was only like one or two of this type. And he said, "Most of it, there's a shortage of creatine. There's a creatine shortage right now due to the supply chain issues." And he says all the creatine is in some ships in China. And I thought, well, that makes sense that we would get our drugs from China. But he did have some, and I got it. And that's the important thing. But it's interesting that even, you know, I understand, you know, there's always, you know, there's supply chain stuff is interesting because there's like one side of the argument, which is like, it's not happening. And even if it is happening, we could all do without. I don't know if you guys saw this. There was somebody, I think on MSNBC was trying to make the case of, "Oh, just don't have turkey this year." Okay. All right. So that's where we're at. I'm of the mindset that maybe we should make our creatine in America and not have to rely on the Chinese. But what are you going to do? Speaking of America, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I probably won't do another show until Friday. Maybe I'll put one out tomorrow in lieu of Thursday show. But Yeah. Thanksgiving's always odd. I like Thanksgiving. I don't love Thanksgiving. I'm not a big Thanksgiving guy. And it's not because of some moral thing about the Pilgrims and Native Americans and blah, 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 blah. I think if you're mad about that and you're white or really anything except a Native American, you should fuck off. And if you're a Native American who's still mad about it, I also think you should kind of fuck off because it's time to get over it, guys. It's time to get over it. But I'm not a big Thanksgiving guy because I don't really care for turkey. And I do like ham, but I don't love ham. I love mashed potatoes, and that's, the worst because they're terrible for you. And I like green bean casserole, and I like parts of Thanksgiving. I do like that there's football all day. But outside of that, I don't really care about Thanksgiving. I'm more of a Christmas guy, Christmas makes more sense to me as a holiday. Thanksgiving is like a pre-holiday holiday. And it's just an excuse to eat all day. And I do that anyways. That's nothing new for me. And just because we start at 2 o'clock doesn't make it better. That's my humble opinion. Anywho, since I last spoke to you, there was a verdict in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty. That's right. That's right. Our studio audience loves it. They love it. Well, here's the thing, guys. I was a little nervous about the verdict because, hold on. Let me. I need to drink my protein shake. Oh yeah. Fitness. Kyle Rittenhouse is interesting to me because, I was nervous in the sense that, there's a lot of really dumb people, and oftentimes they're on a jury. And I was worried that there'd be a lot of members of the jury that were like, he's 17. He shouldn't have been out there. Okay, maybe the rioters should not have been out there. Maybe the police should have done their job. Maybe the governor shouldn't have ordered the National Guard to stand down. Maybe the media shouldn't have lied about the circumstances involving Jacob Blake. Regardless, my fears were alleviated when they 12-0 voted him not guilty. And, of course, now the media is lying about it. You had, there's multiple celebrities. I saw Reese Witherspoon. The thing about Reese is that she's hot, so I'll let her slide on this. But I did find it odd for her to be weighing in on this when she has a DUI under her belt. I think if you have a DUI and it's been recorded and it's been published and we can all watch it, you should probably, fuck off on the moralizing, just in general. But there was a lot of other people who made these comments. Some of them made the exact same comment, which was along the lines of, we should live in a world where Kyle Rittenhouse is considered a terrorist and Colin Kaepernick is considered a hero. I find that odd because Colin Kaepernick has never been considered a terrorist. Stupid? Sure. Liar? Absolutely. Fame whore? 100%. But terrorist? No one's ever called him a terrorist. No one of worth has ever really considered him a terrorist. So I think that's odd that they go from terrorist to hero, but whatever. But I will say that I'm happy about this verdict because it was self-defense on trial. There's a lot of people who like to downplay these things. Like they always go, oh, like there's this whole class of people who call themselves moderates, and they're really the worst people alive, right? They're really the worst. Because they're the ones who see the world burning around them and they go, well, actually, we can still trust their institutions because the court is based on this idea of innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, why is Antifa burning my city to the ground? Where's the police? Oh, my God. Well, at least I have a gun. Oh, wait, no, I'm not allowed to use it because I might get, charged. So I do find these very annoying moderates. You find them on Twitter where their whole shtick is just like, everything's crazy. I just don't understand it. And it's like, I'll tell you what's happening. On the one side, there's a whole lot of communist, socialist, racist who want to completely and utterly destroy the United States and everything about it. And there's their corporate left who more or less goes along with most of it in order to obtain power. And then there's the rest of us. I don't really see, and you go, oh, Evan, there's racist on the right. I know there's racist on the right. We ignore them. They don't usually end up getting elected. Oh, Marjorie Taylor, fuck off. Fuck off. There's actual racists. This is the thing I hate about the adoption of the whole white supremacy nonsense, is that white supremacy used to mean that you believe that the white race was supreme, right? It's in the word, white supremacy, white supreme. Now it just means anything. And white supremacy on its own, if you ever met a actual white supremacist, their viewpoint is that white people are superior to blacks, Asians, Jews, etc., etc. And I've always thought that was stupid. I think that's fundamentally a stupid comment. You can look at the NBA and say, I am not superior to LeBron James in that aspect. LeBron James is a much better basketball player than I ever will be. In my wildest dreams, I could not even follow LeBron on his worst day on the court, even if he is a fucking moron. But that has nothing to do with race. That has to do with being really, really rich at a really, really young age and no one ever telling you to shut the fuck up. So you find white supremacy, I find to be an odd term. I do. I really think it's an odd term. It's a strange term because the definition is in the name, and we've made it into something it's not. Now we make it Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist. Yes, he shot 3 white people. But to me, the thought that he's a white supremacist because he shot 3 white people does not make sense to me. Fundamentally, my brain cannot process that. And then you go, well, it's about the system. Okay, all right. Okay. This is like when they say defund the police, and then they go, well, actually, we just mean reallocating some of the resources to schools and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, okay. Well, then just say that. How about say reallocate some of the funding for schools and social programs and blah, 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 blah. Well, they don't say that. So with that in mind, I have something to play for you guys. In a way, well, here's the thing. I cannot quite say it quite as well as this man can, as one man can, as a man can, as a can, as a toucan Sam. I cannot say this as well as him, so I'm gonna just play what this fella had to say about the event itself.
Kyle Rittenhouse stopped running, didn't he? He stopped running after days of things being burned and people getting stabbed and killed. He said, you know what? They're getting close to my dad's house where I stay the weekends. They're getting next to my dad's business. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to help people. I'm going to try to put out fires. I'm going to have a gun. I'm going to defend myself. And then here comes a mob of people looking for trouble. Well, you know what? They fucked around and they found out, didn't they?
So beautiful. Thank you, Alex. That was a great way to put it. Very succinct. So yeah, I don't know. This all this stuff. There's been a lot of just downright lying about the guy, and so there's a lot of people going, oh, he's going to sue and get a lot of money. I doubt that because from my understanding, it's a lot harder to sue people for malice and whatnot when you're in a legal matter like that, when you're in a criminal case. So we shall see. I hope he gets paid out. I hope they pay him fat. That's my hope. I hope they pay him fat. So on to, well, let's see here. Oh, by the way, I do think Kyle This is the other thing I saw. Somebody said that Kyle was like the new face of white supremacy. And by the way, I still think Hitler has the cake on that. Like, I think Hitler still has the title. I mean, I know Kyle. I do know Kyle Rittenhouse killed a Jew, but he's about 6 million short of Hitler. So, yeah. Actually, to correct that, I heard somebody go, Rosenbaum wasn't a Jew. I'm like, well, Rosenbaum is a Jewish name. And this is where I'm curious, because there's a lot of like, oh, I'm not Jewish. I'm not a practicing Jew, but I am culturally Jewish. Okay, fine. Or it's in my, it's sort of in my lineage, my ancestors. Okay, fine. And I'm guessing Rosenbaum has some Jewish lineage, given he has a Jewish name. So, yeah. Even if he doesn't go to whatever the fuck they call it, shawarma. No, that's food. I do like shawarma. I don't know. Temple. Is that Mormon? Yikes. I don't know. I really should brush up on my religious knowledge, because it seems to be a driving force in this world. Doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon. On that note.
Oh, and he said some bad words. He said the N-word.
Oh, that's true. That's true. He did say the N-word. Anywho, so I started looking at this. There's this Reddit subreddit I discovered. Now somebody pointed in my direction, called the Female Dating Strategy, and the female dating strategy is this is what they say: the only dating subreddit exclusively for women. We focus on effective dating strategies for women who want to take control of their dating lives. For personal questions, please head to ask blah, 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 follow us here, blah, 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 blah. That's always interesting. I do think it's funny that we have this weird society now where we want all this multiculturalism, and we want there to be no borders and no boundaries and blah, blah, blah. And then, well, here's my safe space and these are the rules. And I've just been going through it because I find, well, here's the thing. I don't really care what women think. And it's not about women. I don't really care what anybody thinks. Very rarely do I care about what people think. Maybe that makes me a narcissist. I think that's probably fair. But I also think a lot of it is that people in general don't really say things that are intelligent. I've had a lot of conversations about the weather, and it's very tedious and boring to me. And people will often come at you with some sort of ideology or belief system, and quite frankly, I have my own, so I don't need yours. But it's very interesting to me that people are, they basically say this is for women, only for women, don't ever argue, don't ever blah, 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 blah. And those are all rules. It's very rule oriented. I find that interesting. This is my, my working theory, and I'm not the only person to think this or say this, but a lot of people on the general, like on the social left now, are really just hyper conservative, right? They're coming up, like people who come up with more and more rules for us to live by. Like people think I'm a rule oriented person because I say things that I find to be obvious, right? I'm like, hey, fathers should stick around and raise their kids. Or, hey, try to stay married. It would be better for your family if you stay married. Things that you can dispute, I guess, but it's always like people who dispute that are just kind of feelers. And it's just like, oh man, you can't say that. And it's like, well, I just did. And two, there's science that backs this up. Right. We know that if a 2-parent household, or I guess at least 2-parent household, kids generally do better. They're lower in crime. They tend to make more money. They tend to have better grades. And you go, oh, you can make that about whiteness or some bullshit, but that's to me, one, laughable, but two, it's just it's like you're trying to hurt you're cutting off your nose to spite your face when you go that route. When you're just because it's not about what I'm saying, it's about the fact that I'm saying it, and the fact that I'm saying it with any sort of authority behind it. Like I'm saying it as a matter of fact, because a lot of people reside in a world where there are no facts, and anybody that pushes facts is an asshole. How dare you tell me what to do? And I'm like, well, I'm not telling you what to do, although it's interesting you're hearing it that way. I'm saying what people should do, what everyone should do. If there are simple things, right? If you want to lose weight, it's diet and exercise. It's not complicated. If you want to get a better job, you should work on your skills, and you should work on your networking, and you should work on your education, or whatever it may take to get you to that goal. If I'm just saying these things and you're arguing with me, oh, well, not everyone has a chance to work on their skills. Okay, fine. I don't know what to tell you there. I'm saying find the time. Maybe spend less time rewatching The Office. No disrespect. I do it all day, but not all day. But, at most before I go to bed. The point is, people have this attitude that, like, if you make some sort of proclamation, it's just that alone is just a problem. And it's not about what you say. It's the act of the proclaiming that bothers them, although they make it about whatever it is that you said because they're just mad at you. And I've seen this a lot. I see it all the time. So when I see, these people who have all these rules, which it seems like these female dating strategy types. By the way, I've glanced through this, and I think generally they're right. I don't think they're wrong. I don't think that they're wrong because it's they're trying to. The whole thing is like there's high value women and low value men. Yes. By the way, not every woman is a high value woman. Let's be very clear. And their definition of a high value woman might be different than mine or others or whatever. I think but again, they use this term high value and low value, and they usually refer to it as men, high value men, low value men. And again, it's like these are the people who want you to go, oh, well, we need to be accepting and tolerant and blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. Why are you rating people based on their supposed value? Isn't that a weird thing to go, this person has low value? By the way, I'm the quote unquote conservative. It's not a term that I particularly consider myself, but if you use, in the literal sense of conservative, right? Not a political sense, but just you believe that there should sort of be walls and borders around things and categories, and everything's sort of organized in a way. You categorize things. That's really what conservative means. Traditional in some sense. Yeah, sure. So with traditionally speaking, there have always been low value men and low value women, and high value men and high value women. High value men have always been, guys who work hard, successful, don't cheat on their wives, raise their kids, stick around. That's sort of the and by the way, there's different versions of it, but generally speaking, a high value man, at least in my mind, in terms of relationship, is a guy that will put his family first. I think that's a high value man. If you were to sum it up, is a man who puts his family first. And that comes in many forms, such as I will go work, slave away at a job so that my kids will have food on their table, and then maybe one day they can go to college, or maybe we put them in a better school or whatever. And for some reason, we think that doesn't matter. I don't know why. We act like that's just like a given, and it's not a given because we know there are many burnout loser dudes who don't stick around. So what in my mind is a low value woman, I really don't know. I don't know what makes a woman low value. I'm sure they have their version of it. I don't like the thought of like a low value person. And I think men, you can do that. I think low value women, I don't know. What it probably just depends on what you want. If you want a woman that's going to be a good mother and a good wife, you probably want to look for that. If she's out hoeing herself on the town, yeah, maybe not something you want to settle down with. But not that there's anything wrong with that. But again, what is a low value person? For me, if I were to get married, if I were but if I were to get married, I'd want to get married to a woman, preferably, but we'll see. Preferably a woman who, in her mind, is like, okay, this is it. We're sticking together. Whatever mountain we have to climb together, we're gonna climb. Whatever valley we have to go through, we're going to go through together. It's going to be hard because anything worth a damn is hard. And but we're sort of, as Jordan Peterson said, we're going to shackle ourselves to each other, and this is it. There's other things I think that matter. I do think women, personally, I think women that are adamant about abortion, I'm like, what's that about? I mean, here's the thing. Again, you can make arguments for or against abortion or whatever. It's the energy behind it that makes me nervous. It's this is what a woman, this is entitlement. Like, this is what defines feminism. And that's been the case for feminism since the 70s, is abortion. It's the sacred cow in the Democratic Party. Everything else you could strip away. Abortion will be the last thing they give up on. So I always think that's an odd thing because I think there's other aspects of feminism that are more important. I think that you can have quote unquote reproductive freedom without killing a person, which is what abortion is. And again, we could debate what makes that a person, but we don't have those debates. We have the left's version of the situation, which is that women have this right, and anything that goes against that is an attack on our autonomy, our physical autonomy. Maybe, unless you're killing a person, because men don't have the right to kill people, right? Men don't have that right. Women have the right to kill their own child in this country. And again, that is why we need to have that debate. Because that is shocking to people when you say that. That is a shocking concept to people. That men don't have this right to do this. And that's the thing. Rights are supposed to sort of be equal, right? Like, if you look at the First Amendment, we all have now obviously COVID completely blows up all of this because apparently we don't need the Constitution anymore. But the idea behind the peacefully assemble is not, men can peacefully assemble, but white women can't or black people can't. Now, there have been times where that has been infringed upon. I think COVID was a great example, an equal opportunity. Well, not even, because Black Lives Matter was protesting and no one seemed to give a shit. But there have been times where, black people have tried to go out and protest, and government got in the way of that. And we acknowledge that that's a problem because the right should be equally distributed. So when people make abortion a right, well, then I have the right to an abortion because it's equal. We all have the same rights. But we don't live in a world where I can have an abortion. One, because I'm a man who cannot get pregnant, thus cannot terminate. But I also don't have the ability to force an abortion on a woman. If I were to get a woman pregnant, highly unlikely. But if I were to inseminate a woman and it fertilized, then the baby came out 9 months later, I could pressure her into getting an abortion, which would make me an absolute piece of shit. But I cannot force her into one legally. And she can have one or she cannot have one. That's entirely up to her. That is not an equal right. Now, mind you, I don't think people have the right or should have the right to kill people in whatever capacity. I think the only argument is self-defense. And maybe if a mother's life is in danger, that would be considered self-defense. But if it's just, I'm too young, I don't want to pay for this. Oh, okay, well, there's ways around that before you got to this point. So, yeah. But again, why did I bring up abortion? That's the real question. Well, okay, this is why I brought it up. If I were to talk about low-value women, I don't care if you're pro-abortion. I don't even know if I care if you had an abortion so much. I care about energy around it. So if that is your sacred cow, like if that is to you the peak of feminism, the most important thing is abortion, I think that there's something wrong with you fundamentally. Because it is completely untrue. Nature shows us this. In the human race, females have control over, they're the only ones that can give birth. They run the show in that department. So if a woman can give birth and a man cannot, then that is a pure difference in feminine and masculine. A very distinct difference. Men cannot give birth, women can. So for me, I don't know. Why is it that the peak of feminism is not the act of giving birth, but the act of taking away a human life? I just think that's odd. And I think it's odd when people make things sacred cows. For example, if I made this is the thing, if you're a lady who's listening to this and you're pro-choice, you're probably really mad at me right now, and that's fine, assuming you haven't turned it off. But here's my point. I don't think that, like, if you met a guy and he's coming at you with like, oh, you're a baby murderer, you would be like, that's weird. Why do you go to sleep at night thinking about abortion? You're a dude. Why does this occupy so much of your time? And I'm not saying men that go out and support pro-life, but I think it's about that energy, right? It's about that energy. I guess the other thing that I look for is like just substance abuse, because a lot of women are just absolute alcoholics and in denial. Like I think there's probably more. This is just my speculation. I think there's more women that are alcoholics than men. One, it takes less time for them to get drunk. Two, I think generally speaking, they're I don't know, they call it having fun. When guys get drunk, things can get dangerous. They can get in a fight. They could get arrested. I think women, they do, but it's at a lesser rate. They can bat their eyelashes. I don't know. Fucking know. I just know a lot of women that like to drink, and it seems like there's a lot of, so that I guess those would be my low value women. But again, that's the wrong way to look at it. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think people are individuals, and I think to establish someone based on their value is fucking disturbing. But I bring these ladies up over at Female Dating Strategy, and I kind of want to read through just in general what they are about over the course of this podcast. I'm curious. Largely because, a lot of people seem to be following these things, and it's just good to know what they think and how they think. And again, it's funny. I was just kind of reading through their handbook, and like they're not wrong about a lot of stuff. They're saying, let me see here. There's little things like the importance of high standards. I agree. I think you should have high standards. It's your body. It's your life. You should absolutely have high standards. Now, I'm not saying that you should, there is a level of just like no one is good for me, and then that's narcissism. That's just pure narcissism. But I'm kind of fine with you. If you're a narcissist, I'm fine with you having high standards, so that way you don't inflict it on somebody else. Sort of a you take yourself out of the pool, if you will. I'm kind of fine with that. So just looking through here, it says, like, it's not your job to build a man. I agree. It is not your job to build a man. One of them says, do not move in with a boyfriend. That sounds, you're starting to sound like my Christian mother. Avoid drink dates. Now you're sounding like Jordan Peterson. So, reject low effort dates. I would be curious. I will have to read that because I'm curious. They keep talking about low effort men. Cut low effort men off. I am curious about that. That's something I'm going to have to dig into because that's something I might be guilty of. But low effort's an odd thing because I do know there's a balance between low effort and obsessive, because like one of the things I've always read, you ever see that meme where it's sort of like, oh, find you a man that texts you good morning and texts you good night. And it's like, okay, sure. I mean, I in my world, that's very sweet. It's a very sweet sentiment, but in practice, that is obsessive. Not always, but if the feeling is not mutual, and let's say this guy is trying to create that feeling for you, right? Like he wants you to be into him as you are into. He wants you to be as into him as he is into you. Then that surely would be something that he might do. Good morning, I love you. Oh, good night, I'll be thinking about you. Oh, sleep tight. Those are all cutesy messages that if it's not reciprocated become very fucking creepy very quickly. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see what the effort thing means, right? Like I've talked to girls and they're like, oh yeah, text me. And I'm like, fuck, like I want to call you because the texting is not going to go well. I'm going to overthink it. I'm going to be in my head. I'm going to try to be funny, but you're not going to read it in my voice, so it's going to come across as weird. So yeah. I don't know. There's probably, this is the thing. It's funny because I think there's probably some truth to a lot of what they're saying. I don't want to write these bitches off. Sorry, these broads off. But yes. Anywho, I'm gonna read this one called "Common Red Flags in Fuckboys," and I'm very interested. I'm very interested in what they have to say. Because here's the thing: I know fuckboys. I don't consider myself a fuckboy. Fuckboys get laid on a regular basis. I'm not one of those guys, but on occasion, on a whim, if you will. But common red flags in fuckboys. So I want to see if there's anything here that I'm doing that would be considered a fuckboy. So first one, the infamous grin. I'm reading this now just so you know. By far the most common red flag I found among fuckboys and even untrustworthy pick-me-ishas, I don't know what the fuck that means, is the sinister grin. It may not flash you at first, but once you see that immature grin coming out, his ego flaring up, or him grinning at his phone, watch out. This dim idiot finds everything amusing, simpleton, including receiving a nude whilst you just turned your back. He likes the forbidden fruit drama and gets a kick out of duping women to knock their esteem. He is always grinning at everything like you're missing out on the joke. This will follow often immediately after he feels he has you hooked, aka slept with him, bonded through oxytocin. Okay, I thought it said Oxycontin. I'm like, and started to catch feelings. Always watch out for the chronic grin if he's a late bloomer or fresh out of a relationship where he got dumped or cheated on, possibly out for revenge and finds it humorous to get a rise out of women. First off, let me just break that down. Are you not allowed to smile? Like, I don't know. I grin when something's funny and I see it coming. So I guess that makes me a fuck boy. I don't know. But I grin with my dude friends too. So maybe I want to fuck them too. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know what this means. Like these guys that are grinning when your back is turned because they got a nude. I think this is, maybe this, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. This is an odd thing. Like, this feels like somebody is talking about someone very specifically that they used to date. Like, I don't know. Like, it's funny. Like, should a man, I don't know. What is a man allowed to do? Is he allowed to smile? Because, like, sometimes it's like people are making jokes and you see something funny. He finds everything amusing. Why is that it makes someone a simpleton? In my experience, people who are simpletons don't have any sense of humor. They're the dullest people are the ones who don't laugh. In my experience, the dullest ones are the ones who they take you literally. They take everything to be like you verbatim. You said this, so this is what you mean. And it's like, okay, maybe not. His ego flaring up. Okay, I guess. People have egos. I don't know. That's not news. I don't know why. Everybody has an ego. Even people with low self-esteem have egos these days. That's where we're at. So, I don't know. And he often immediately after he has you hooked, aka slept with him. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe you need to stop sleeping with these guys. That would be my advice. Just don't sleep with somebody if you don't feel like you know them that well. Anywho, ask him where he was last night, and he says, with the boys with a big wide grin, red flag. Yeah, that is weird. That's a weird thing. Hey, where were you? I was with the boys, and then smiling. That's like, I don't know. That sounds either he's cheating on you with other women or he's cheating on you with his guy friends. That's what that feels like. He's where were you last night? With the boys. Smile. Okay. I mean, that's a weird. I don't know anybody who talks like that. And anybody, like, why are you smiling about it, like with a grin? Unless you're making like that's the other thing. He might be making fun of that expression because it's a dumb. I was hanging out with the boys. Like that's like he might if he's making. What if he's making fun of that expression? What if he's on your side and you just don't know it? Could be that. Extremely fast texter. You can vaguely make out he's switching between different conversations. I love when they write a gigantic fucking. This is like this is gonna take me. I might have to hurry through this. I love when they do They do shorten their language on something that's like already 17 paragraphs. You can vaguely make out he's switching between different conversations very quickly as if he's bullshitting 4 different Tinder girls on WhatsApp. Sis, it's 'cause he is. Now you know why he replies so fast. P.S. This also goes for when he miraculously takes 6 hours to reply to you, but replies to his friends at the speed of light in front of you. Deliberate triangulation move to make you feel insignificant and chase him, pumping his ego up. Don't fall for it. It's 100% move to make you feel insignificant and chase him, pumping his ego up. Oh, sorry, I reread the same line. Don't fall for it. It's 100% done deliberately to turn you into pick-me-sha. I got to look that up. And make you insecure / second guess yourself. I think there's just a lot of people who play games when they text in general. I think that's like way more normal now. That's why I generally now I only text when it's like specific information. You know, it's like, what time do you want to meet at the movies? 7. Great. See you then. Like, it's not, oh, how you doing? What's up? Oh, yeah, and I would just generally, you know, people who are away, and I'm on my phone way too much. So I think people who are on their phone all the time, yeah, that's a problem. And yeah, I mean, if a guy is going to leave you on hold for 6 hours and he doesn't really have a good excuse, but then he's texting other people back immediately, yeah, that might be a sign of something. That might be a red flag. See, I'm not a complete hater. Snappy replies, at my friends, yeah, was good. When you're used to something more elaborate and him making more effort. He's dodging the topic as it puts him on the spot, and you've rumbled him. Think on your feet. Probe a little deeper with a few specific questions relating to the alibi he throws you. Does he stumble? A fuckboy will get very unnaturally coy about his whereabouts if he's lying. Yeah, I could see that. But here's the other point I'd have. There's a lot of mind reading going on here. You notice this? Like, there's a lot of mind, like, where we have found we know your intention better than you. And I think you have a problem with that because you don't know what that person's going, what they're in the middle of, what they're doing. You don't know what they're up to. They might be talking to their mom. They might actually be at their friends and watching a movie and don't want to fucking text. Like, there's a little bit of like, I don't know, like some of us don't like to text. I don't really like to text. So that's where I'm at. I don't like it because you lose a lot, you lose a lot of nuance. You lose a lot of the beats. You lose the tone. So people, it's like, and then, by the way, like if I'm at my friend's house and we're hanging out and maybe you know this before and you're like, what are you up to? It's kind of like you need to fucking chill. If you have if I'm out to dinner with my family or something, like I'm not going to have my phone out, and maybe I'm not going to have a big, long conversation with you. So that's a little bit of like, you guys need to fucking relax a bit. But yeah, I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a low value male. Love bombing seems too good to be true. Flooding with compliments, acting like you just saw Jesus weeping through your pupils. Okay. Too agreeable, seems too chivalrous for how attractive he is. I don't know what that means. So wait, like attractive guys aren't supposed to be chivalrous? I don't understand that. By the way, I thought chivalry was bad. I thought feminists hated the chivalry. I didn't know that it's back. All right. Too eager, too intense, too empathetic, too compatible. Your instincts usually flare up at this one because you fancy him. He's riled up the hormones and you secretly want it to be wrong. You ignore your gut instinct. Put your ego to the side and ask yourself, why is there a hint of doubt and whether these types of men are common? Take anything within the first 3 months with a pinch of salt. That's true. Men will mirror what they think you want to hear and see in their early stages, at least until they get sex. Man, that's probably true as well. Yes, men mirror. That is true. But here's the other thing. It's also kind of just matching someone's energy, right? Like if a girl tells you this story, anybody who's had a girlfriend or interacted with a girl and they're telling you about their day and they're like, oh, and that bitch Nancy, that fucking slut or what, I don't know, whatever it is they're complaining about their work, they're complaining about their boss, they're complaining about school, they're complaining about whatever. And it's like kind of trivial, but it's like, it's just whatever. It's just, she's venting or whatever, or she wants you to know that she's stressed. I don't know. There's a little bit of like, you're trying to keep up on their level because maybe you're trying to get laid, but also you're just trying to have a conversation. And thus it's like, well, women care about this. Sometimes women just want to be listened to. So I have to appear empathetic, even if I'm not. I also think that's just kind of being a friend, right? Like if your friend is having a down day and you're just like, they're venting to you and you're just like, yeah, okay. Like it could, like, I think that's off-putting, So I don't know. It's the whole like flooding with compliments. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to charm you. I don't know if that's a fuckboy thing. I think that's just like they're trying to charm you. So yeah, they're trying to charm you when a guy floods you with compliments. That's true. I don't know. Like, is it bad to be charmed? I don't know. like he just saw Jesus weeping through your pupils. I don't understand that. I don't understand. Why would Jesus crying in your eyes be an excuse to compliment? That would be something to contact whoever whenever the poor Mexican discovers the Virgin Mary on like stained on his wall. That's who, if I see Jesus weeping through your pupils, I'm calling the guy that guy calls. Whoever that is, whoever the Vatican, I'm calling them and saying, hey, this bitch, this broad, this woman, this whatever you want to call her, she's got Jesus weeping through her pupils. So I was going to compliment her, but I decided to call the Vatican instead. That seems odd to me. And yeah, seems too chivalrous for like ugly. I love it. Ugly guys are chivalrous. Attractive guys don't have to be. I do like that. That's sort of the implication there. Too eager. Sure. Yeah. Too intense. I mean, okay. I think it's odd that they don't like intense. I think that's a very odd thing because most people I find are intense about things. Maybe not everything, but people are intense about some things. Too empathetic, too compatible. I don't know. That's such an odd. That's true. But yeah, take anything within the first 3 months with a pinch of salt, grain of salt. Why don't you say grain of salt? Say pinch. I don't know. That's odd. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of an odd. Yeah, there's guys that are really, really, guys who are over the top into you, it will fade. That's true. He's secretive. Won't ring you. Says he doesn't like talking on the phone. Sticks to WhatsApp voice notes. Less risky than a random call to side chicks. You don't have his Instagram. He's a low-key guy. Possible, but often BS. Basically, he's avoiding you, finding a social media blueprint from which you can monitor him / find out more info. Why are you trying to monitor this guy? This is where I'm like, you got a problem. And that's, by the way, a lot of people don't like talking on the phone. That's a byproduct of our technology now. It's not a necessarily like I want to talk to a girl on the phone if I'm asking her out, but I also know that a lot of people don't like that. I don't like it, but I would prefer it over texting. So I'd like it if we just made eye contact and she said, yes, we should go get dinner sometime. I'm like, great, you decide because I'm going to fuck this up. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of odd. I think that's a weird, why are you trying to monitor his social media blueprint? That's such a weird, this is where it starts to feel like we are now a transaction. Like this is your job interview, and it's like, if the guy doesn't have Instagram, maybe he's hiding. Maybe he doesn't want to sell his fucking data to corporate America. Have you considered that as a possibility? I don't know. Pics of kids. This is another sign that he's a fuckboy. Pics of kids on his phone. Could well be his niece or his uncle's wife's postman's baby. So his aunt's, his uncle's wife's. That would be your aunt. Postman's baby. So your uncle and aunt's postman's baby. That's odd. But equally could mean he has a bunch of kids from his reckless sperm loading. Do not assume. Try to probe one around his friend. Look for anything baby kid related around his house. Also pay attention to random shit in his car, random hair clips, a hairbrush that ain't yours, shit like that. Okay. I think if you're dating a guy who has a secret family, you have bigger problems. You have much bigger problems. If a guy lies about here's my experience with guys who have kids. They love to tell you, oh, my baby mama, oh, my baby, my daughter, she means the world to me. That to me is the fuck boy. In my experience with the fuck boy, it's the guy who has the kid and doesn't stop talking about how the kid is his world. That's a fuck boy. If this dude is like having pictures of other kids that have nothing to do with him, that's a psychopath. That's a murderer. That's a murderer. That's not a fuckboy. That's a murderer. That's a serial killer. And if you have pictures of your niece, like, I don't know, like, Again, but it's the guy who, I would say the guy who rushes out to show you pictures of his kids, not kids, his niece. I think that's more of a fuckboy sign than anything. Like, oh yeah, this is my niece. She means the world to me. Oh, she's so beautiful. I just want to live in a world where women have equal opportunity, and I want her world to be the best. Fuckboy. Overinflated confidence, something off about his machoism. He might have a deep voice, be 6'2", be ripped or whatever else, but there's something not quite convincing about his whole alpha act. Most likely his shit ton of emotional baggage and insecurities waiting to project on you through coercive, manipulative behaviors. Mainly his manly, mature gentleman act is a farce. Chances are he's broke / not intelligent / in debt / mommy's boy. This is something to look out for when he's attractive physically, but something feels off elsewhere. Usually there's a giant catch awaiting. Here's what I'll say. Guys that are trying to tell you how they're a big old man in general, that alone is enough. Like if they're trying to explain to you that I'm a man, oh, this is what men do, then there's something off. Because guys just kind of, I think a guy who's actually macho, Jesus Christ, I'm in the fucking Village People here. But guys that are actually, doing the guy thing, there's not a lot of announcing, there's not a lot of like, oh yeah, like I'm a real man. It's just like, well, I go to work, I do my thing. That's you just exist. It's just existing. Watch out for sob stories too quick. That is fucking true. That is fucking true. Fine, 100%. And before I read this, every fuckboy I know has some story that they got preloaded. Like when I was in college, there was this fucking loser who'd hang out with these girls I knew, and he would just be like, oh yeah, my dad murdered my mom. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to bring up on your fucking first conversation. Like, I don't know. I think that there's, and by the way, I don't want like this whole like, there's like this, there's this new, I've heard this phrase where it's like trauma unloading, where it's like you unload your trauma onto somebody and it's, it's rude. I think there's certain people you can share with pretty quickly because that's just, some people are better at receiving that kind of shit than others. But in general, yeah, I think that's generally true. You shouldn't be announcing to the world your deepest, darkest fucking moments. It's kind of a weird thing to bring up, right? I thought of about 4 or 5 things in my life just talking about this, and I'm not going to mention them because it sucks. So let me go ahead and read this. Watch out for sob stories too quick. Often fuckboys will use some emotional hook like briefly mentioning their deadbeat father or hinting at their depression or lack of money or sob story segment. I don't know. I think I like to joke about my depression. I don't know if that's a fuckboy thing. I think that's a coping mechanism on my end. Like when I'm depressed, I like to make fun of it, right? I like to make fun of that. And making like a lack of money or some like, I don't see that. Like that's a weird, though. Again, the deadbeat dads thing I think is true, but like, and they're okay. I guess like if you were to say hinting at their depression, like there are guys that are just like, oh yeah, I just like can't. It's just so hard to find meaning in this world. Like, yeah, okay, fuck boy. Lack of money. I mean, if he's talking about money, I think there's a way to talk about money and like kind of generally joke about being broke. And then there's like guys that are trying to get a free ride. That's a fuck boy for sure. But I don't know. I guess those are all correct, but I do think that there's a distinction, at least for me. I like to joke about depression. So that's my coping mechanism when I feel completely alone. There's no meaning in this life. If he is mentioning this too quick, stay alert, yeah, and watch his expression. A grin would indicate he's full of shit. Okay. I mean, I guess. But why, like, I think oftentimes they tell a true story too, or basically true. Like, I don't doubt that dude's dad fucking murdered his mom. I don't doubt it. It explains him. But it's the bringing it up on the first conversation, I think, is always odd. They're obsessed with this grin thing. God. Often fuckboys will use this as a way to get under your skin and garner sympathy to later exploit you further down the line. Yeah, that's true. Usually for money / a place to stay / free therapy. I mean, sex. I think you need to include sex in there. I don't think any of them are looking for free therapy. They're definitely looking. A lot of them are definitely looking for money / a place to stay. There's definitely a lot of that. Or they are doing it to get you to open up and reveal your weak spots to them, or, making a conversation. I don't know. Such as being estranged from family as a safety precaution. Oh, by the way, that's another one of my red flags. This is an actual red flag now that I'm thinking about it. People who don't talk to their family and are like, fuck them. Now, here's the thing. If your dad raped you, I don't think you should ever have to call that motherfucker ever. If your mom physically abused you or whatever, you don't have to call them. If they're just difficult, you should make some effort. Now, I'm not saying you to, go scorched earth and be, the fucking daughter or son of the year, but I do think that people who don't talk to their family for, in the grand scheme of things, fairly trivial reasons, yeah, I don't know. I think I think that there's something to be said about that. So yeah. As a safety precaution, do not reveal weak spots / heavy stuff to men you barely know. Wait to see his actions consistently in depth first. Yeah, that's true. I think that's true. Controlling. Mentions exclusivity quick, but only in relation to you. If you are very attractive / get a lot of attention, he will be super concerned about this / it says insecure, low-value men hate competition and the idea of other men on your tail. And they will try to mate-gate you / ambush you away for potential interest as early as possible for their own peace of mind as they text 18 other women without a fuck to spare. Okay. I think if you are dating somebody, I think early on it may be fine, to not be quote-unquote exclusive. But I think you should figure it out relatively quickly if you're going to continue dating this person exclusively. If you want it to mean anything, that would be my speculation. I do think, I don't know. I guess that's not what I think of with controlling, right? I think of controlling as like, oh, don't go out your friends. I don't want you to do, oh, you don't want to have a job. You don't want to do this. Do what I want you to do. That's more of it. And by the way, like if you're, I don't know. Who are these? I guess that would make him a fuckboy if they're texting 18 other women and also trying to be exclusive to you. But I don't know guys there's probably sociopaths who do this, but I feel like that's an odd, in my world, assuming I had 18 women to text, I probably wouldn't be trying to make you exclusive. I think that would be the whole game is let's not be exclusive because I am texting. I don't want to settle in here. They say if it's too soon or he hasn't demonstrated commitment, don't fall for this trap. In 1 to 3 months, he could be a blocked contact and you will have to turn down other interests for a false start. Okay, that's true. Keep your eggs in the basket. Do not agree to be exclusive to him till exclusivity is officially mutually established. Yeah, that's fair. The trial zone is just that, a trial to see if his character stands to scrutiny. If he doesn't get to lock you down in 1 week whilst he plates other women. That is true. Triangulation purposely makes you paranoid and jealous. Deliberately baits you, gives you ambiguous replies to straightforward questions whilst grinning. They're very obsessed with this grinning. Like he's just some fucking guy. Like, argh. Hiding his phone in an obvious hidden manner as if he wants you to think he's getting it in like that, even though he's probably grafting his ass off or it's his gran. Okay, if a guy is trying to make you think that he's getting something, then he's a piece of shit. Let me I don't know. If a guy's trying to tell you like, oh yeah, I get it, and I got these bitches on speed dial, like I just fucking, that's a problem. There's a problem there. This is a problem person. So being all weird about if he's being like trying to show you that he's weird about his phone, then that's weird. Generally, you're getting a vibe he's trying to rub something in your face. This is a low-value, insecure man-child move when he blatantly wants you to see his other, again with his low value. He wants to see his other interests. He wants to appear in demand and make you jealous. Otherwise, wouldn't he be smarter about it? Smarter trying to hide it. Yes. That's a weird... Guys, people who try to make other people jealous, I don't know. That's a game a lot of women play. In my experience, it's like, oh, I'm going to, kind of maybe go dance with this guy or whatever. and I'm gonna keep looking back at you while I'm doing it. Like, okay, I don't know. I think that's a red flag in general. Look for the hidden contacts list notification flaring up on Android users. Why are you again, this technology monitoring their social media, looking at their notification? I don't know. Fucking some people, let me be clear. Some of us like privacy to a degree, right? We don't want, like, I travel a fair amount and I don't post it online. There's a practical reason for that. There are criminals who will rob, if they know where you live, they will rob your house or apartment when you are out of town. They will, like, this happens to a lot of guys in Hollywood, right? Or show business, and which I am in show business now. But you'll see these, like, there's like athletes, I forget who it was, but it was like a Dodger. The guy was on his away, he was, they were playing an away game across the country, and then his place got looted in Los Angeles. That happens. There's celebrities that post, oh, I'm in Paris, and then their house gets robbed while they're in Paris. So there's all sorts of, I don't know, there's a lot of reasons not to have your information out there. And I don't like, that's the thing. If I get a text, I don't have hidden contacts, but I do try to have it where my phone limits what pops up without, like, maybe, a message comes in. I don't want it. It's just weird. It's like, let me establish that it's safe or whatever. And it's not even a hiding thing. I just, you get spam. I've gotten spammed with fake text from some fucking, I assume Russian, but, some scumbag, where they send a picture of some, hot chick, and they're like, oh, I'm so horny, and click the link to fuck me now. It's like, I don't need that popping up on my screen. So there's reasons to not there's reasons to be discreet in life. If you smoke marijuana, do you want a text from your marijuana clinic or your weed shop going, oh, we got 8 ounces of da-da-da on sale? And it's like, that doesn't need to be seen. There's something, I don't know why. This is like the NSA. Jesus Christ. Back off. Fuckboys will do this sometimes when they want to be cowardly / kick you off the roster too. Make it obvious they're up to no good, so you will blow up and cut them off. As in, they know you're not going to bite the bait and play pick-a-misha to appease them. I don't know what the fuck that means. Which doesn't stroke their ego and thus bores them, losing their interest. You're dating a chick by that. By the way, if you're dating a guy like this is a chick. This is not a man. Easier than them being a man and giving their fragile ego a boost. This will particularly be the case if he realizes you aren't a fun feminist and that you're not submissive or naive kind going to play his games or chase after his bullshit. Self-respect and standards equals no fun for fuckboys. Please look up triangulation to get a better idea of how men deliberately use this to artificially inflate their value / make you feel jealous and insecure. I've known people, because it's not a man thing, but I've known people of both sexes who do, in fact, do this kind of bullshit where they want to make you the one who breaks up with them, right? Like, they don't want to be the guy or gal who calls it off. They want you to be the bad person. I don't know why, and it's funny because then when I've witnessed it, the other person always goes along with it rather than being like, you know what, fine, I'll be the bad guy, we're done. They don't ever do that. They're just like, no, why don't you love me? And it's like, okay. So yeah, I guess that part is true, but I don't know. Like, it feels like if you're dating this person, you gotta get better. There's probably a lot of other red flags. Unreliable, blows hot and cold. Classic fuckboy tactic, but effective. Aim to disorient you, make you second guess yourself / worth, boundaries, replies, attractiveness, and get you on their on their tippy toes, trying to claw back his attention, elevating him in terms of power dynamics. This is a crucial point where you swing the dynamic in his favor if not careful. Do not let him take you for a ride on the emotional roller coaster. Do not respond with pick-misha behavior, getting hysterical, asking why he's gone cold and rude. His ego feeds off these reactions. A high-value man will not leave you in the dark, even if he has stuff going on or has to cancel plans. He will communicate and always affirm you're wanted and will tell you if he needs some space / wants to call it off. The hot cold game often leaves people feeling like you just got spat out of a hurricane on the highway. How did I get here? Was that real? Hot and cold is a sign you need to dip. With high value men, consistency and communication is key because they don't want you to feel any doubt that could lead them to losing you. With fuckboys, it's about carrot dangling, guesswork, and control because they're too immature and insecure to put their feelings on the line like that. Low value men are about pulling your strings and watching the pick Misha dance. All right, I don't know what that means. I got to figure that out next time I go through this. Love bombing you, putting you on a pedestal, then withdrawing and acting rude/distant is a deliberate fuckboy assault course to keep you off balance and pining after his attention. Don't run down the rabbit hole. Curiosity killed the cat. You won't be psychoanalyzing the situation if he convinced you he was a high-value male seeking a relationship. Huh. I think that's generally true. I don't know. Some people are just kind of hot and cold and emotional in general. I don't know. I think there's like a little, bipolar in there maybe. That might be just a mental illness. Yeah, I mean, hot and cold is kind of an odd thing. I do think there are people that, are very, very intense and then they get what they want and then they're tired and they're bored of it or whatever. And it didn't live up to whatever they thought it did in their head. So I guess that's fundamentally true. But I don't know. Like I do think that there's also, I don't know. I think it's kind of normal to be a little hot and cold if you're bipolar. So I do think you have to take into account that some of it just might be a mental issue. But yeah, there are people definitely who are all in and then they disappear and then they're all in and then they disappear. That's true. And then they go on to say, don't take it personal. These men have no intention to settle down or scared of intimacy. Yep. Often insecure, immature. They're not your one or anyone's one because that's not what they're looking for at that stage. You cannot force them into a relationship box if the signs aren't there and they're unwilling to play ball. We can't keep a man that doesn't want to be kept. Insist. Why try? That's fair. The average low-value man will back out even if he has started to get feelings because the low-value man sees vulnerability as weakness and is not man enough to make himself vulnerable. Again, I do think, this is a world where we're very gendered now, and we're all about don't generalize. And I think, what does gender even mean? What does it mean to, how saying man up? Don't say man up. That's degrading. But, in this case, he's not man enough to make himself vulnerable. I mean, I guess vulnerability is a weakness. It's not a weakness, but vulnerability, the term itself basically means weak, right? Because if you open yourself up, you're opening yourself up to getting hurt. I think anybody who's made themselves vulnerable has been hurt by that because it's a breaking of trust. So, yeah, I don't know. I can understand why people don't rush to become vulnerable. I don't know why it's expected of the man to become very vulnerable because that's not what men do. I think there's some of this is a little bit of arguing against biology here. I don't know. Like, what does it mean to be vulnerable? I don't know. I don't find myself to be a vulnerable person in general because I don't see myself as a deeply emotional person. So it's like kind of like, well, like some people will be like, I've had the conversation with girls where they're like, they want to get deep about something, some childhood fucking trauma or whatever. And it's like, part of the reason why I'm better is because I don't think about that and I don't flesh it out on a whim, So I don't know. They will get cold feet. Hold on. Sometimes they don't want to settle down at all, whether the dream girl's in front of them or not. Also, they perceive you as a higher value. They're as in a no BS woman with high standards, and they don't feel they match up /career /maturity looks wise. That is going to deflate them. They will get cold feet because you're too much work, and they see you as a high maintenance, I guess. High maintenance is an odd term because I think high maintenance is, in my mind, high maintenance is somebody who requires a lot of money. That's where I've always kind of went on the, like if you're texting, if I'm hanging out with my friends and you're texting me, hey, what's up? How's your golf game going? Like that might be a little high maintenance-y. Like, hey, I'm out on the course. I'll see you at 3. we'll get lunch or dinner or whatever. That seems right. They will get cold feet because you're too much work and they see you as high maintenance. They know you have too many options and too much going on for you to put up with their bullshit long term. Hence why they withdraw. Low value men are looking for easy prey. That's true. If you're not that prey, he will lose interest in pursuing you. So don't take offense and see it as the trash taking itself out. Yeah, that's pretty true. They won't want you to keep up with their performance that long, knowing they are beneath you deep down. Jeez. He may well, it's just so funny, this whole low value thing. God damn, pretty brutal. He may well actually like you a bit, but not feel secure, and that you'll wise up and do better because he knows you can. Yeah, I think a lot of people have self-doubt. I think you're describing self-doubt. I think the key is not to put your self-doubt on other people. But I do think that, I don't know. Why is everything about how you're better? That's such a weird way. Like, you're better. You're better. I mean, maybe. I don't know that you're better. You may not be. Here's the thing. You can not be right with somebody and it doesn't make you better. And it doesn't make them worse, or vice versa. If someone breaks up with you, it doesn't mean you're not good enough for them. It means that you're not right for them. So this whole, things being better or worse, it's come on now. They prefer naive, docile women, the pick-me's who pay for dates and have lower self-esteem / weaker boundary. Again, if a guy's seeking that out, like, if he doesn't offer to pick up the check, then yeah, he is a piece of shit. But like, why are you paying for his date? Why is the woman paying? I don't know. They are easier to groom long term. They will pump his ego as he slums at his mom's. Oh, that stings. Whilst giving him sex and emotional labor for crumbs and possible STIs in return. The minute you assert yourself and he sees a strong woman with self-respect, confidence, and street smarts come out, his sexual interest will nosedive. You've exposed the other fragility underneath his fuckboy persona, and he cannot conquer your esteem as he wishes. Therefore, he will seek for the next victim to get his low supply with less difficulty. This man, again in quotes, he's not a real man. This man wants drama, sex, and validation, nothing more. He is low quality. Delete, block, and don't look back. Rip off the Band-Aid before you get invested. I think this is generally true. I think it's a generally true post. But it is, I mean, again, like, maybe you should establish that you're a strong woman before you sleep with him. Because then you don't have to deal with any of this. I don't know. That's my thought. I've known many a fuckboy in my day. I think most men are capable of being a fuckboy to some degree, but I do think that sometimes people need to, I don't know. It's like, who are you? This is what I don't know. You're caught up in this relationship, and then the moment you show your fucking strength, his sexual interest will nosedive. So you date. How long did you date before you decided to show your strength? I think, the women, I like strong women. I do. I like strong women because I find myself chaotic. So I like women that are less chaos. I like women that are like, this is what I do. I'm good at it. This is what I like. This is what I enjoy. I like it. I do. Even if I don't agree with it, I prefer that over some wishy-washy, naive person. So, because I feel wishy-washy. And I'm not really wishy-washy, but that's how I feel. So, I do like women that are strong. And strength is it's more of a character thing in my mind. So, yeah. I think that's interesting. Anyway, I'm going to go look more into this stuff. I think because here's the thing. There's this whole like world that we have where everybody's in their own fucking corners. And there's some benefit to that. But I also like to think that there's some value in learning what other people think. So this is a dating subreddit exclusively for women. So I'm not going to post. I won't argue with these people. And I do think that there's something to be said. I'm curious to see what they have to say. And that way I can navigate it and sleep with all these women. Just kidding. Just kidding. am tired of getting I'm tired of pursuing women. That's my thing. I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted. No, I'm not exhausted. I'm bored. Not even bored. It's more of a interest thing. It feels like we're in the middle of World War III, and the thought of getting married doesn't make sense to me. The thought of dating doesn't really make sense to me. Now, if she owns AR-15s and a large plot of land, then, different discussion. If she can grow her own food for the coming nuclear apocalypse, then different discussion. But yeah, I'm going to probably do some version of this at least once a week because I am interested. I am interested in what these bitches are telling themselves. Because here's the thing. Women seem like they're going through a lot. They do seem like they're going through a lot. They seem like there's a lot of confusion and whatnot. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have a better understanding of them. Finally, I'm going to read this article here. It's a shorter article, so we will get through it. But it's on National Review. And if you're familiar with National Review is a conservative magazine. It used to be published by William F. Buckley Jr. I don't fucking know, one of them. He's dead now. But now it's just sort of, famously, they were the conservatives who wrote the magazine entitled Never Trump. And since then, they've sort of just lost the way. And this is coming from somebody who I like a lot of their writers. I used to read these guys more frequently. And I don't read them as much anymore because of things like this. So they wrote an article. And for those of you who don't know, there was what appears to be a terrorist attack in Waukesha, Wisconsin. An African-American man drove his car through a parade and killed at least 6 people, wounding dozens others. And, there was at least certainly some evidence that seems to be that he did so because he was not happy about the results of the Kyle Rittenhouse case. So I'm guessing this story will be buried. But National Review finds a way to miss the mark once again. And again, I like many of the writers. I think they're often correct in many of their assessments. So I don't want to completely trash these guys, but this was a little bit unforgivable. So this one's by Madeline Kearns. Madeline Kearns. She wrote, "Was the Waukesha killer Sorry. Was the Waukesha killer a stoner?" She writes, "Person of interest Darrell Brooks Jr. has been taken into custody in connection with the Waukesha Christmas Parade massacre. The news site Heavy.com has reported on Brooks' social media accounts, some of which have already been deleted. In addition, his lengthy criminal record and open felony cases in Wisconsin's court system. According to the site story, among Brooks' prior convictions are several instances of marijuana possession. And on one of his Twitter pages, he describes himself as a stoner." All right. I think that's an interesting angle because many of his other posts are about why he supports Black Lives Matter and why he didn't like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing and why he thinks white people are the devil. But the interesting thing to Madeline, is that this guy's a stoner. Okay. Interesting. All right. I'll buy it. Cannabis use is often overlooked commonality among mass murderers and other violent offenders, one that the British journalist Peter Hitchens has warned about for some time. Quote, "No, not every marijuana smoker goes out and kills. So what?" He wrote in a piece for the Daily Mail discussing UK's growing knife crime problem. "Not every boozer gets into fights or commits rape or kills people with drunken driving. Not every cigarette smoker gets cancer or heart disease, but we act against these things because the significant minority who do cause or experience some of these tragic outcomes." Okay. Let me address this here. Not every person does this, but we have things against it. Okay. what do we have against that stops people from committing rape as a result of drinking? Nothing. I mean, there's legal consequences, and a woman can own a gun and use that to defend herself for now. But the thought that a person, like, we have things that prevent drunks from committing rape, not really. Like, on a societal level, it's really just kind of personal morals and values that prevents you from doing that to a person. I mean, yeah, again, there's legal consequences, but there's a lot of guys that rape and get away with it, and because women don't report it, right? And there's a lot of, factors there. So I don't buy that we have things in place to prevent because the significant minority who do cause or experience these tragic outcomes. We do get people for DUI. Even then, it's kind of like, do we get everybody who gets DUI? I don't know. Like, we don't have a lot. I think Peter Hitchens is overestimating how much, like, okay, cigarette smokers not every cigarette smoker who gets cancer or heart disease. That's true. Our preventative measure is we tell people not to smoke, we shame smokers, and we tax smokers. I mean, it has been effective in reducing smoking. People still get cancer and heart disease, by the way, unrelated to that. But that doesn't really, for me, I don't understand, like, do we tax, like, we tax marijuana too, by the way, and we do have anti-drug programs. So I feel like it's about the same. I feel like the amount of, like, we do shame cigarette smokers far more than we shame anybody. Before the unvaccinated thing was a whole thing, it used to be cigarette smokers were the devil. So yes, not every boozer gets into fights or commits rape or kills people with drunken driving. That's true. But all of these things there are consequences as a result of it. There's not a lot of prevention going on. So I don't know. That's sort of a weird thing. And by the way, they're talking about the UK's growing knife crime problem. That can almost exclusively be traced to radical Islam. So you want to make it about marijuana, I think you could you have a better connection to Islam than you do to that. She writes, Hitchens argues that no normal-minded person commits what are objectively irrational, heinous acts. That's not true. What does that mean? No normal-minded person commits what are objectively irrational and heinous acts. I don't know what that means. What's a normal-minded person? Like, who's normal? Right? I don't know. I don't know what a normal-minded person is. I think that's a reach. And I think there's a lot of people, you can do a lot of rational things, right? Vaccine mandates are rational. Vaccine mandates kill people. People who otherwise should not have gotten the vaccine get the vaccine and have a reaction and get sick and or die. So, but they're rational. You can rationalize anything. Hitler had a rationale. He was not normal-minded, whatever the fuck that means, but there's a lot of normal-minded people who went along with it. And they committed what you would call irrational and heinous acts, but they went along with it. If you have to choose between yourself and your family or some random Jewish family, you're going to choose your family. That's a rational, a normal-minded person. So, but a completely heinous act. So, yeah. And by the way, even rational people are not rational. No one's actually rational. We strive to be rational at best. And some of us are more rational than others, but we all are steeped in feelings and alcoholism or something. I don't know. Just kidding. Kind of. We are all irrational. Humans are irrational in many senses. To ascribe rationale to people is often a mistake in my mind. So she writes, but drugs make for abnormal mindedness. Okay. The scientific links between cannabis use and psychosis are well established, as I documented in a piece for The Spectator earlier this year. Quote, a 2008 article in World Psychiatry, the top journal in the field, outlines the results of the 15-year prospective study in Sweden examining schizophrenia in over 50,000 Swedish conscripts. It found during its 27-year follow-up, if the association they identify was indeed causal, 13% of cases of schizophrenia could be averted if all cannabis use were prevented. Okay. A recent 2019 study in the Lancet Psychiatry examined patterns of psychotic behavior, psychotic incidents across Europe in connection with cannabis use, and found that daily cannabis use was associated with increased odds of psychotic disorder compared with never users, increasing to nearly 5 times increased odds for daily use of high-potency types of cannabis. Moreover, they concluded assuming this association was causal, which the authors consider highly credible, as much as 20% of the new cases of psychotic disorder all across their sites could have been prevented if daily use of cannabis had been abolished. Okay. 20% of crazy people smoking weed making them crazy. I don't buy that. There's been studies that show that it brings it out of people. Like if you have schizophrenia, cannabis will bring it out of you. That's a legitimate concern. Neither of these people are making, I mean, I'd have to go read what Hitchens has said, but it doesn't seem like anybody's actually saying what it should be, other than that it's bad. Okay. So I'm of the belief that if you have a problem, you should offer a solution. But so far, I've not seen a solution. She writes, researchers have also noted that considerable evidence suggests that much of the violent behavior observed in the mentally ill is not random, but is motivated and directed by psychotic symptoms. In many cases, the behavior appears to be predictable and in some ways rational response to irrational beliefs, delusions, and perceptions, hallucinations. That's not... you can have all of that without any drugs. We know this, right? So, again, I don't know I'm not really quite understanding this argument here. So how many mass murderers in the U.S. were also drug users? It's an interesting question. Oddly, however, the police don't seem particularly interested in the answer. Policymakers and the media even less so. I don't buy that the police don't seem interested in the drug use of people. I don't buy that. That's quite a proclamation. I don't buy that. This is her example. The FBI found no motive in the Las Vegas massacre, the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history, when Stephen Paddock killed 60 people and wounded 867 others. We know from the autopsy that he had anti-anxiety medication in his system. Was he using anything else? All right, before I go on. The FBI found no motive in the Las Vegas massacre. Why are you attributing it to drugs? Because he had why aren't you considering that the anti-anxiety medication might have had something to do with it? Why are you leaping to marijuana? That is quite... He had this one in his system. They found no motive, so maybe it was another drug that we don't have that's in his system, but it was probably marijuana. That is the logical leap if I've ever read one, and I'm quite amazed that National Review would publish this. Stephen Paddock killed 60 people and wounded 867 others, and the FBI found no motive in the Las Vegas massacre. What does that say about the FBI? Why do you trust the FBI in this? Right? So Alex Jones, we quoted him earlier in the program. Alex Jones was on a show, and he said that he believed that it was the Saudi, I think it was the Saudi government was his theory, that the Saudis had didn't like something that Trump was doing or whatever, and so they basically sent out a hitman in Vegas and gunned them all down. That was his thing. The fact that the FBI found no motive on this guy, we can find anything on everybody now, and the FBI is just like, yeah, he just did it because whatever. That tells me that there's a little smoke there, considering these guys could go get his laptop. They can go talk to his friends. Oh, we found no motive. He just decided to go on a mass shooting spree. We don't know. No motive. We know motives for everybody, right? Oh, he was bullied in school. Oh, his parents were abusive. Oh, and by the way, I'm always using men because it's the men that do this. It's always there's always a motive. They always they will even make up a motive. So the fact that they found no motive is, I think, kind of a tell. And the fact that he had anti-anxiety medication in his system, and you're like trying to ascribe that he might have also been a marijuana user despite having no evidence, is fucking amazing. Madeline, Jesus Christ. Was he using anything else? Devin Kelly, the Texas shooter who killed 26 people at First Baptist Church, was a marijuana user. Okay. Ahmad al-Aliwi Alisa, the 21-year-old gunman in the Boulder supermarket shooting, was paranoid and socially awkward, according to his brother. Given that paranoia and social isolation are common characteristics among chronic weed users, might he have also been a pothead? Again, you gave 3 examples. Only one of them smoked weed so far. You've given me 3 examples. One of them is paranoid and has social isolation. That's also a side effect of meth. There's a lot of things that lead to paranoia and social isolation, and not just marijuana. So these are all logical leaps and bounds here. Omar Mateen, who killed 49 people and injured 53 more at a gay bar in Orlando, also admitted to marijuana use. Okay. Nicholas Cruz, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooter, was a daily cannabis user. In his post-conviction comments, Cruz said, "I hate drugs. I believe this country would do better if everyone stopped smoking marijuana." Huh. This is like when, what's his face? James Dobson went to go meet with, oh God, who is that fucking creep? They made the movie about him. I think Jeremy Renner was in it, where he was Jeffrey Dahmer. I think it was Jeffrey Dahmer. And James Dobson famously interviews him, James Dobson being a conservative Christian spokesperson type, whatever. And, Dahmer went, "Oh, yeah, I watched hardcore porn when I was young." It's like, oh, there it is. That's the problem. And it's like, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of people who watch hardcore porn and don't murder. This is kind of a conservatives are usually good about this, where it's like, hey, this problem that we have with drugs or whatever, you can't ascribe, you're taking the blame out of the individual, right? It's like when they say, "Oh, society made me do this." Conservatives hate that. You can't "Oh, he's a black man. There's racial discrimination. That's why he can't stick around and raise his kids." Oh, well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, bitch. That's sort of their general line of thinking. So, yeah, I don't know. That seems odd. That's kind of odd that they now are blaming the drugs for. By the way, if a guy takes a gun to a school and murders children, I don't know if I want to listen to their reason. I don't know if I trust their reason, their self-described reason, if everybody would stop smoking marijuana. Okay. Of course, drugs are not the only driving factor behind senseless evil. Yeah, no shit. Evil is the driving factor behind evil. Jesus. Sometimes it's ideology. Really? Huh. Sometimes impenetrable badness. Okay. But our incuriosity on the subject is strange, to say the least. I think that your logic insinuates you smoke weed, Madeline. I think Madeline's a stoner. I think that explains the logical leaps and bounds that she's taking here. I'm sorry, you can't. Let me get very specific here. You cited Stephen Paddock, who had anti-anxiety medication in his system. So what? Valium, Klonopin, all drugs that are very powerful, all drugs that are prescribed. And you're speculating that he was a marijuana user. You had 3 of these people smoke weed and the other 2 didn't. And you're taking their words for the, like, you're taking Nicholas Cruz is one of the worst pieces of shit that's ever walked this earth, and you're going to take his word for it? That's interesting. Huh. Okay. I don't know. I think that this is such a Stephen Paddock, the fact that the FBI found no motive in the Las Vegas massacre does not mean that weed made him do it. That means that the FBI didn't do their job, or they did their job and they don't want you to know what the results were. And like I said, Alex Jones has an interesting theory on it, and everyone goes, "Oh, Alex Jones is crazy." Well, except until he's not, and he's basically been vindicated on a number of issues. So, excuse me if I don't buy this. So good for you, National Review. You guys really you're crushing it right now. You're crushing it. I could see that the standard for what gets published has been substantially lowered if this is the case. I mean, why? Like, this guy the guy who did this, the guy who drove through a crowd of people, children as well, would be what you'd call a terrorist, right? The 9/11 hijackers weren't all smoking weed before they got on the plane. They were not chronic marijuana abusers in Afghanistan. As far as I've read or heard, I've never heard of that. I've heard that they went to some strip clubs the night before they died, but I have never heard that they were chronic marijuana abusers. So here comes a black man who is documentedly a racist and is very unhappy about something, and he's a criminal, and the crime that you zero in on is drug possession. Okay. So, and again, no solution. It's just vague. Ooh, people just aren't interested in this, so there's must be something there. Okay. People seem less interested in the fact that a black man, after a verdict that he didn't like, drove his car through a fucking parade. That's where people seem to have a real lack of curiosity. So, you tell me. All right, I've been talking long enough. Thank you so much for listening to the 7th Evan podcast. I'm your host, Evan Myers. You can follow me on Twitter at 7th Evan. You can follow on Instagram at 7th Evan Pod. You can listen on Spotify, Premium, whatever the fuck you listen to. I don't know anything. Premium. You can listen even when it's not premium. You can listen on iTunes. You can listen on Google Play. You can listen on YouTube. Either way, give it a listen. Share with your friends. You guys have a great rest of your week, man.